Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my final presentation. So let's get right into it. All right, so why I chose this project. So HAAS, which is High School Aerospace Scholars, is based on my experience with this project. I work on at NASA. I wanted to create something that I could relate to as an educator, as well as my love for STEM education. So this course is basically a hybrid of that experience, and the students will get kind of some of those attributes from the actual course within High School Aerospace Scholars. My thing here is I just wanted to try to put my own spin on it and make it something of my own to some degree. All right, so why I chose this particular color scheme. All right, so it's more or less the images that I use to invoke some sort of theme as it relates to aerospace. I wanted the students to receive a sort of vibe or some sort of thing that they could relate to as it pertains to aerospace. So that's why I chose these particular images, as you can see. And here's another shot of some of the images that I chose to use. All right, so um, organization and pedagogical reasonings. So let's get right into that. So for this particular layout, it's based on some elements of constructivism and where learners are actively involved in the process of learning and knowledge construction. So this is where mainly uh, the interactive tools come into play and helps the student to kind of take charge of their own learning in a sense. I wanted the students to feel like they have some sort of control over how they learn to some degree in using those interactive tools, but we'll get into that a little bit later. All right, it's also kind of a blended learning experience, which is what the HAAS course is really intended to be. The High School Aerospace Scholars course is intended to be. So they would have their online component and their on-site component. All right, moving right along. So this is just some of the layout. Just wanted to show you some pictures of the layout of the course and how it looks and just kind of the order of things. And it's linear. So you have to go through some different steps. I even have a sample lesson attached. And as you work through the different things to get you acclimated to the course, it'll then bring you to your first module, as you can see the picture there. So interactive and multimedia choices. All right, the multimedia and interactive elements were chosen to help create an experience as it relates to their learning. I wanted them to take ownership, okay? This is why I chose insert learning as one of those interactive tools to help promote that idea, which again has elements, I feel, of the constructivism with them taking charge of their learning experience and building that knowledge. I also chose Quizlet for one of the same reasons, based on their interaction with that the learner may receive from that. And I do plan to add some other items that I think would be useful, like Edpuzzle, to give even more diversity as it relates to the interactive tools that could be used within the course. All right. So what I learned and what are some of the challenges? So what I learned is that this is a very methodical and intentional as it relates to the steps that are involved in building a website and a learning management system. The research behind some of those aspects of design really made sense, that you, Dr. Newman, gave us. So I thought that the material that helped us as we learned why certain things were done the way they needed to be done were very useful and beneficial. So it definitely helped with the overall design and building of the course, um, from the smallest level of detail to some of the biggest things that are needed to create a well-working website. All right, moving on. What can be improved? All right, so there were a few aspects that can be heavily improved, I think. For instance, having some sort of syllabus of sorts that explains some of the preliminary requirements needed in order for a better user experience. For example, having instructions on how to register or create a login account for Insert Learning, Quizlet, things of that nature. So those are some things or steps that I would include in the syllabus. That way the learner would be ready to go once they are entered into the course. All right, is my site user friendly? All right. So yes, indeed. I stated that this is a hybrid of the activity that I work on at NASA, High School Aerospace Scholars, and it is centered around some of those elements that they would experience within the online portion of the blended learning course. The 17-year-old that I used, who is a student, a junior actually, which is what the course is intended for, high school juniors. Um, she did confirm that it was very user friendly, but also gave me a lot of insight as to what could be improved. And a lot of those things were giving better instruction as it relates to, like I stated before, having that information that relates to pre-registering or creating certain logins or certain interactive tools that would be used. Okay. Um, she also stated that the videos were very useful and helpful. So that was one of the major parts of her liking the user friendliness of the particular course. And there's one thing I did forget to mention, going back to the interactive and multimedia. So with the multimedia, some of those tools that you saw bulleted on there, like YouTube and stuff like that, those things were just um, easy and useful to use. And she enjoyed those too, because they were helpful in kind of giving some idea of what was going to be focused on as it relates to the learning. All right, moving on. All right, and so that brings us to the end of this final presentation, and hopefully I can get all those elements added in to make those improvements, which I definitely have to do if I want a decent grade. And I just want to say thank you for those that have taken the time to listen to this recording, and I really, really appreciate it. And anyone that gave any insight um, as we went through this course, I definitely appreciate all of that. So thank you and have a great evening.